Running. Good morning.
Test. Ho ho. Now that's a hat.
Check out my hat.
It's a good hat.
This fills the whole frame.
Keeps your neck out of the sun.
Oh, yes. Ooh, summer is here.
Summer is there. So how's it going?
Cool. Pretty good this week. Good. It's a bit of a show out there. We've had people finish at 3 a.m.
Oh!
Aaron and I were here till 11 last night. Ben was here late as well. We've got some production issues to resolve, I think. But the mood's good and we'll get through it. We're just a bit short-staffed this week with someone away and a shit ton of work. We had a really slow October, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And then the month clicked over and suddenly the website just went off.
Oh.
And yeah. Just like a switch.
It's like the thing we've been talking about. It's like just suddenly, for no reason.
Yeah. The start, coming back to your theory, the start of the month coincided with a beautiful sunny weekend. And I don't know if everyone was just in a good mood. And they're like,
weather and paychecks.
It's the start of November. But yeah, we've had I think probably our strongest start to a first week ever, I reckon. And it's early days and I don't quite know why. Maybe our vinyl campaign that ran for 3 weeks in October, just sort of we're feeling the effect of that. The algorithms have hit their stride. I don't know what. I did on Friday last week. I had a call with Will, our marketing guy, and he was like, Jem, since the middle of the year, he'd been doing some digging about why our conversion rate was so low.
Yeah.
It was like, so since mid-year, people have started searching for shelves within your site. You're a furniture company that specializes in shelves. And then suddenly people are in our search bar looking for shelves. So it's like, kind of like people can't find what they're looking for. I was like, right, fixing that now. Like I had the kids in the car with me and I just drove them around until they both fell asleep and then parked and got out my laptop and just like went ham on the nav and the collections and just like,
go ham on that nav.
Completely kind of rebuilt the nav structure of our website, renamed all the collections, did like a bunch of little conversion rate optimization things.
Oh my God.
It felt so good. It was the best like couple of hours because I'm coming off last week too where I was kind of feeling a bit unproductive and useless. It was just like, no, I'm just going to action this now.
Yeah.
No meetings, no discussion. This is happening. So early days, I don't want to take credit for that, but I think, whatever's happening online is working at the moment. So,
did you sell more shelves?
Sure did.
Whoa!
Sold a lot of shelves.
You did your own SEO, internal SEO.
Yeah. So I think, despite our production challenges this week, there's a good mood because we've sold a lot and our studio sale last weekend went really well as well. We got cleared out. People came from Melbourne primarily and 10 minutes before it was supposed to open, we had people at the gate and we just got cleared out in the first couple of hours. Jay and I were doing it and
seemed busy.
Did 12 grand in 2 hours or something. It was good.
Dang, man, that's nice.
Good. Yeah, and kind of nice to clear all that stuff too because a lot of it was just dead inventory. It was just like turning not junk but stuff that's taking up room. Just converting that into cash in a couple of hours feels good.
I feel like there's a lot of ads around America that are like, do you have a bunch of junk and you want to turn it into cash?
Turning junk cars into cash. Sell my cars.
Like some radio ad. Jem just turned his junk into trash. You can too.
You want to do the job. So we did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Jay did a great job organizing all that.
This is how you do the job.
Tricky things going on, but
nice.
Good vibes. Good job. On we go.
Better than going to a market.
Oh, yeah. So much better to run your own market.
What was your methods for advertising that? Like social media I saw and then email?
Yeah. Social media, I think one email. We ran a radio ad on the local radio.
Oh, I want to hear that.
It's not as dorky as I'd hoped. I wrote the script for it and sent it off to the local radio station, hoping that they'd produce this really awkward piece of tape. But it was a bit slicker than I was anticipating. It was good. I should have. Next time I will.
Oh, God, that'd be amazing.
What do we do? Yeah, we ran that and we ran an ad in the local paper as well. But I think in the end, anecdotally, most people came in with Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You should like work it out. Is there like Airbnb, bed and breakfast, or like a place you could like next time you do it? It's like they come out for the weekend and you work with a winery that's like making an event. They come out to buy furniture and then stay somewhere.
Thought about that. Not with sort of customers as such, but like from pre-COVID, I loved the idea of running training classes here
For sure.
and trying to get people out for sort of CNC fusion training
Mm-hmm.
a weekend, like come for 2 days, 6
Yeah.
people or something, just have the workshop to ourselves. I reckon that'd be great fun.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if it would work, but it'd be a good time.
Yeah. If you had to synthesize the changes you did in the navigation, like what do you think in your website? Because I just kind of make stuff up as I go. This seems like it might work
me
to
too.
navigate. What did it was more like categorical before, I feel like, or by use, maybe both.
We had some strange terms in there, which when we first built Shopify kind of made sense at the time. Like collections were things like sitting, storing, eating,
Yep.
kind of words like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a shelving category, or there wasn't the word shelves or shelving. So from a like organic search point of view, terrible. So I just cut all of that and just renamed them to much more simplistic terms like shelves, seats, tables,
Yep.
desks, things that people understand and things that people are going to be searching for. So yeah, I guess to distill it a little bit is just to sort of put what's important front and center.
Yep.
Like, what are we actually trying to focus on? Put that at the top of the nav and then clean up some of the old collections that were kind of just creating visual clutter. Make simple names and keywords for things. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Are you getting anything else done?
We finally jumped into the aluminum job that we've been discussing for weeks and probably months on the router. I always say aluminum job because it's like my mind still doesn't believe that we have a mill that like cuts metal often.
Yeah.
We did this whole job for this client in the past, to recap, where it's a high-end audio. It's basically if you took your vinyl campaigns, but like it's basically out of solid aluminum and 1-inch apple ply.
It's one of those.
So it's like super
Right.
heavy duty. First time we did it, I made a video in 2019, CNC router aluminum, and it's like the best YouTube video we've made. A lot of hits daily. And it was just like a 7-minute video. I barely knew what I was doing at that time. Or maybe I did. Maybe I knew what I was doing and I've gotten away from that. I don't know. Because it still gets a lot of hits and there's just not a lot of knowledge out there. As you probably know, like everything's just so different with a router to cut that material. They have way higher torque band, on the kind of router spindles than like
Yeah.
I can cut aluminum at like a few thousand RPMs on the mill, but I need to cut like
so different. Yeah.
like 10,000 or 15,000 or something. Our recipes turned out to be pretty good from asking around, but nobody had really made a video on it. So I made a video that time. For filming and making a new video on this version, we used the client's plate 6061, which was super warped the last time. Because this is like, I think those parts last time, 50 by 50 inches, half-inch thick. And so they were super warped. We'd vacuum them down. Sometimes they'd pop up. So reminiscent of Nick Polonowski's Datron, smash Datron spindles problem. Luckily, we never had that. But this time, I knew a little bit more and I suggested to the client, hey, since, last time you had pretty warped material, what if we use Mix 6 or like, I don't know the other names. There's a bunch of names for fixture style aluminum plate. It's like de-stressed. Okay. They face it actually on both sides. And then also one of the other concerns was like, we don't want it scratched. There's like almost no guarantees from vendors on getting you unscratched aluminum surfaces. So this Mix 6 is immediately covered with a pretty heavy like vinyl cover on both sides after they face it. So it's dead flat and actually like beautiful. It's like really well finished for a raw material. It was a little bit more expensive, so but fancy. Like they came in yesterday to drop off one of the little threaded isolators that we need to thread mill into the aluminum still. And I wanted to make sure it fit. Yep. And they walk in and I was like, you want to see your parts? And I pull off the cover and just stop and goes, that's beautiful. And I was like, But I like laughed back and he goes, oh, I didn't mean to cuss. And I was like, oh, you can cuss at your own parts if you'd like. Like, that's
Cool.
So it's a good reaction. But it's gone pretty well. Ricky never cut aluminum on the router. So he's both, I think, been troubled by the amount of chips everywhere, but also enjoys the process of it being unique to what we're doing normally. And he's tackled keeping it running. We've done a few different things. We're going to make a couple of videos out of things we've learned since then. And then the thread milling in particular will be a whole video of itself because I'd never seen that before. And I want to make a specific video about it.
How did you go with the thread milling? I know you had some offset.
I have
issues.
just
Did you work that out?
tested, and we have this weird issue where it's offset in X a little bit. I'm guessing
Yeah.
I did something wrong in the cam because I've double checked the machine. We did have a bad cullet, which is interesting. And it was a pretty cheap cullet. And so I tested the run out on it, and it was just like, woo, like, what is this merry-go-round I'm on? And so I pulled it out and I was like, oh man, yeah, this cullet's toast, and we never used it. So
Is it a
I
bad
still don't
thread?
quite
Like,
know.
Is it taking the part?
It does. Also, it's plywood that I'm testing in, like you suggested. So
Sure.
it twists in, but then it can't go deep enough because the threads on the one side are so shallow, I think. But this is why I wanted the part
Super weird.
to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever seen that is on the pencil sharpener, but then it's gang tool. Like, it's when something's amiss and it thinks the one tool's not in the spot where it should actually is. But in single spindle, I can't wrap my head around how that can be offset like that.
Neither. We need to try just a whole new
Confusing.
cut of that, but basically just making the idea of the part, what it needs to be, and then using drill with the option of thread milling, and the max, the OD or the outside of the thread is the number I'm setting to, and then the pitch is the pitch. And I'm thinking I may have like messed the tool setup potentially. I don't know. I can't figure out what would cause, because it's starting in the center of the hole and working its way out. Simulates fine,
Yeah.
and then
Does
super
the
light
thread
on one
look
side.
normal in simulate?
Yeah, it doesn't simulate
Can you
super well.
Zoom in
It's
and,
hard
like,
to.
does it look fully formed?
I don't know. I should go look at that a little closer. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
It looks symmetrical though, which was so weird. So to me, it's like the tool is messed up, or I think your thought was yesterday that the offset there's some kind of offset on the machine, but I checked that there was no offsets. It's just kind of odd.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. Other than that, it's been pretty smooth. It's amazing what, like, having done it once and knowing more about how to machine metal through the mill taught me so many new things of, like, we're
Right.
using a rougher and a finisher instead of just one tool.
Yeah.
Which
What?
I think is also an interesting concept for those of us in the router world. Is that's just not common because maybe you didn't have tool spots, or you weren't shooting for that quality. But since I know this client is very interested in a high quality finish, and it was a good example of how to make a better finish for a video, I was like, let's try it. And it turned out so good. Like, so good. I can't
sense.
film it or take photos of it worth a crap because it won't focus on the surfaces. It's so frustrating.
It's too shiny. I was going to say, yeah, since John took over the CNCs here, he's been running a compression ruffler and then a compression finisher. And then he even has a third tool, which is like, doesn't live in the machine, but it's like the near new compression finisher.
Yeah.
So like if he's doing something with particularly tight tolerance, then the near new compressor goes in the machine, just cut the slots or whatever, which is a cool idea. But yeah, just having that rougher, because he runs the rougher quite fast, like fast, aggressive feed rate, tool deflection doesn't matter, and then come in and just like clean up those profiles. We've got a lead time conundrum here. I think part of our production issues this week have been something we've always struggled with. So regardless of who has been managing production, whether it's me or Aaron or Ben or anyone, we've always really struggled with the classic thing of like quoting a job. It will be 5 to 6 weeks. Thank you for your deposit. we'll have your job ready in 5 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of just doing that blind with no real sense of what's in our pipeline, what else is likely to drop within that same period. And then we have all this work in our system and we're still just kind of like blindly trying to go, oh yes, well, we said 6 weeks to this customer, 8 weeks to this customer, and those 2 dates are on the same day. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone in small business manufacturing, I imagine, is kind of dealing with some version of this. I don't know how to tackle it. And like, having been production manager in that role, I find it very hard to offer like constructive advice to someone trying to do this as well. Because it's just like, well, this was always hard and I never knew how to do it any better. And like, we can build Gantt charts and like complex views in Airtable and try and sort of project. And maybe that is the answer down that avenue, is like just getting more advanced with our sort of projections. And maybe it just has to become someone's full-time job, but I'm quite adverse to that idea as well. Like, I feel like there must be a smarter way than someone just spending all their time thinking about this and sort of planning.
What's the common way that it's wrong? You underestimate your timeline so they're later than normal, or?
We're often either having to tell a customer, look, we need another week on this job, or we're committing to dates to customers and then going, oh shit, well, I guess we're staying back tonight.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen all that often anymore, but when things compound in the right way, it's like we don't have transparency on what's coming. And I don't know how to get that without just doing a lot of planning. And maybe that's the answer.
Internal transparency of what's coming, like between production and
internal
sales.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not good at this either. I'm just thinking of how I would attempt to solve it. I think we talked about it one time in the past where like the stupid version of like how I might try to tackle it. Because you have so much more data and like project flow in your Airtable that you could do something trying to like build a view that looks at the past 90 days of projects and like look at the estimated timeline and then the actual timeline. And then like that would give you something to plus or minus your quoted timelines with, or to give the customer that like we're quoting 5 to 6 weeks, but technically it's looking like we're a little longer right now. And it's just kind of maybe that's what interfaces could do for you, since I never know how to use those damn things. Like you get a view that's like time lag. And then on that same idea, could you build, as you're saying, like a tablet or something in your space that's for production, that's like upcoming projects and like how many person hours of work is needed in the next, I don't know, like, oh, are you looking at way too many hours upcoming than as people have scheduled to work? I don't know how to describe that. It might be too complicated.
Yeah, look, I think we're kind of on a path towards that, as in we have some of that data in Airtable. We can see how many hours were quoted. It's a bit harder with product, to be honest, because we don't currently have production hours assigned to a product-based order, but with any custom order that was quoted, we see a total of quoted hours against that. But it's just very easy to just look at a number and go, oh, that's a big number, and then just like not kind of put it in context, or even things like that big CNC routing job, which I've mentioned, which we still haven't started because the client still hasn't had sign off.
Oh man.
That's 300 to 400 hours of machine time or something. And it's just kind of sitting in our system as like this big, scary production number, but we don't know when we're going to start it. So it's very hard to like plan around that. And when it finally drops, then we can go, okay, cool. Well, based on what's currently in our system that wasn't in our system 2 months ago, it's actually going to take longer, or, so yeah. And maybe this is why you pay thousands of dollars a month for like crazy ERPs. Maybe ERPs do this.
Well, I feel like there's just nothing, it's probably not correct, but there's, why we've gone down this Airtable route is that it seems like there's not many things built for like the ways we want to do things, because it's maybe there's comparables in machine shops, but there's just something odd about, I don't know. I guess there's finishing technically and like machining. You have anodizing or other processes, but like how you build all that in, that's like normal wood-based production. I don't know. It seems different and like not comparable, and like all the standard things are not the same. So maybe that's just a bunch of excuses. I don't know. I never got to that phase of having to deal with. It got messy, and you know, like we were up against like, oh, we need to have more accurate predictions, and I did have some employees that were very concerned about, well, I never know what I'm going to work on this week. You know, some are just like, what are we doing right now? And fine with that.
Yeah.
Huge amount of effort to constantly plan all those little details of, oh, we'll have the material, the tools, and machine time at this point, you know, ready. So then we need to have that job ready. And then one right behind it, is everything going to align? Like, is everything here for it? And you just keep playing that game. And then somebody goes, okay, I need this in like a week. And you're like, oh, no, I got 6 weeks booked out. But really, it's like, there could be a couple days in there where everything hasn't come and you can fit it in.
Absolutely.
And it's so hard to know how that works. Schedule
I think part of the challenge, which is this is a challenge that sort of rears its head in various areas in our business, is the coming back to the fact that we're trying to run 2 different businesses. Like, we've got the custom side, which is on like the 5-6 week lead time sort of system. And then we've got this website, which is just selling stuff, some of which has like a 2 to 3 day lead time on it.
Yep.
And so we've got these 2 competing things. And like, a lot of the time it works really well, because it's like, John loves it when we get lots of web orders, because he's like, cool, what can I machine next? Just keep those machines going. It's like, boom, 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 boom. But then what might be working quite well for John that doesn't necessarily work well for the rest of production, is because like, we've got so much work to do, and then suddenly there's like 20 web orders on the weekend. It's like, oh,
yeah,
we're drowning. Yeah, it's that, they're trying to find that balance between those 2 systems, I suppose.
It was interesting to like listen to other people, you know, the Bob and other things, right? Where everybody's talking about like streamlining their one production or work process. And we are very similar, I think, in that we have these competing workflows that, I mean, for all aspects, it's like things you need to complete those products or services are sometimes different in terms of equipment or resources or people that can complete them. And it makes you want to, I think we both have talked about this, throw all one side of it away and only do the other side. But then you're like, oh, we just had this great week in this other side that we want to throw away. And it's keeping us afloat. And there's really no like great answer to that, I think. Especially if we were in a roaring economy scenario, maybe it would be more smart to just sink one of those things and just go for it. But I always have liked the option to have one be a savior in the case that one isn't doing well.
Yeah, it's hard to turn something off that has saved your butt numerous times.
Yep. So you still have like 13 stacks of plywood for this giant job just floating around the shop?
Yeah. 4 or 5 meters.
13 to 16.5 feet.
That's pretty tall. Oh, man.
Yeah. Not quite to the ceiling, but most of the way to the ceiling. Yeah, look, the client's paying for storage.
Yeah.
For storage. And, you know, it's expensive for them, but at the same time, it doesn't justify the fact that it's taking up our whole steel fabrication corner of the workshop. So,
yeah.
Here's what it is. We'll just be much more careful next time if there isn't about, you know, ensuring that we get the signed off file set before any material is delivered.
Yeah. I used to have a lot of, it was a little bit before the pandemic, but I would have people want to just like, before getting a quote, before first email, first inquiry, just be like, hey, I've got this material ready to drop off for this project. So when can I drop it off? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Justin, can I bring in my slab?
Yeah. And I'm like, we have no extra space to keep your material here. And I'm always just writing back like, no, I mean, we need an accepted quote and a deposit paid before we hit anything, you know, like and that was my way of controlling that workflow. But yeah, all the time, I've got 40 sheets of cut by Friday. When can I drop those off? You can't. You will not be dropping those off.
No.
We did our very small version of clearing out part of our space was we had this pallet. We just have a very small, narrow workspace from front to back of the shop with the forklift especially. And we lifted the stack of aluminum for this job to the back, and it felt so good to not have it sitting right by the forklift anymore, because it was like this roadblock to just get around. And like stuff was like, you know, those situations where that thing not moving collected other things that didn't move.
No, yeah.
And then it was like, there's 2 pallets on that situation. Like they were stacked improperly, really. And then like the duct towers had come in, and we put that on top of the aluminum stack. And then like our casket things that hold all of the parts for the knack wall were just like pushed up next to that. So it was like anytime we needed to use the forklift, it was like 6 things had to move. And now it's just like open. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, those piles are magnetic.
This gyre of junk.
The studio sale forced our hand to do a big tidy up, and so it's great. It was a great start to the week to come in and just have a very clear workshop.
I bet.
To then, have lots of work to do.
I brought this up before, but I thought more seriously in wanting the cash. I don't know that it'll sell, but I think I need to get rid of the material. I guess tell me to get rid of the material for the knack walls. That's this white material. Like we're not going to get back to that till definitely Q2 next year, right? Like, so why would I sit on $5,000 of material that's keeping a rack full? Isn't that just pretty stupid at this point?
Yeah, you'll probably get a better price for it now than you will in a year as well. Yeah, I feel like prices are starting to drop a little bit here.
Yeah, I need to throw that on. I've had no interest, which is interesting, for the apple pie I've had on Craigslist. I thought that would go pretty quick for its market pricing and all that. So, been interesting. I've had a few things on Craigslist just dead.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Should we wrap the show up? We didn't say good morning to Don. I feel like we should talk to Don more. Hey, Don.
I'm always right by your side. Damn it. Was that too mushy? I take it back.
I still have the button that plays the crash of the YCM. I need to get rid of that.
Oh, gross. Just to remind you.
No, thank you. Your staff. Are you looking to... You're mentioning staffing. Are you actively hiring or just vacations
we're about to.
Forced? Mm-hmm.
No, Sarah's got the PD all written up, and the ad's been written. I think we're just all drafted, ready to go.
A parts department written up? What's a PD?
A PD, yeah. A position description.
Oh, is that like a formal thing or what you call it?
That's what they're called. So yeah, we will be hiring.
Sweet. My dream is that you hire somebody from the States from this podcast someday.
Okay, sure. Sure.
They're like, I want to move over there. And you're like, got a job for you. That Nicholas Hacko, I believe he is also an Australian. Yeah. Makes watches, has Kearns, fancy machines. So I would see him pop up. They are currently hiring, and he's always pitching the perks of Australia and their shop. And I find that to be an interesting, I enjoy watching his strategy to try and hire those positions, internationally, basically. Are you in the world and want to make watches, with Kearns? Come to Australia.
It's pretty unique business.
Yeah. No kidding.
I can see why they're taking that strategy. Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Do you like to make pencils and timber machining? Come to Castlemaine.
Yeah. Hacko was at that trade show to Sydney.
Oh.
Tool trade show I went to in Sydney, and because they do a lot of they also do custom work for medical industry and stuff, because they've got a Sinker EDM and their Kearns and Swiss lathes and all that bizzo, so they make some beautiful little precision parts for other people as well as their watch stuff. So they were there promoting their skills, but got to touch and feel some of their components. Bloody amazing.
So tiny.
Cool.
It always blows my mind how ridiculous. My first thought is always like, how do you work hold that? Like, what holds that while you machine it? You know, when it's like a gear for a watch. Like, it just doesn't work in my head.
It's just hot glue. Right? It's all hot glue.
It seems it's like you overcomplicate it, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, what's that hot glue gun over there for?" Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. Should we wrap up?
Yeah, so, sounds good.
Doodle-doo-doo-doo.
See you next week.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Have you even checked out the Patreon yet?
I really doubt it, Don. They enjoy the show but don't put their money where their ears are.
Life is like a box of podcasts. You just take, and then the box is empty.
Mother truckers, YA don't they want to get the secret show? Tell me they can't skip a bag of Doritos or a Dunkin' Donuts once a month.
Support the boys at patreon.com/parts department. Please don't make Don mad.